New Day with Dr. Tammy Bradshaw Scott, a program dedicated to addressing current issues and offering solutions and hope for each new day. Dr. Tammy is a registered psychologist and licensed marriage and family therapist with degrees in clinical psychology. And now, here is your host for A New Day, Dr. Tammy.
Hello, and welcome studio audience and everyone viewing from home. We have a wonderful program lined up for you today. Today, we will be taking a look at homeless teens from our communities, how they got there, and what we can do to help them with their situations. Homelessness is a problem in many cities across the United States, and the homeless population is not just restricted to adults, but also includes a high number of children and teens. For example, there are approximately 1.7 million homeless teens in the United States, 39% of which are under the age of 18. Approximately 5,000 young people die every year while living on the streets due to assault, illness, and suicide. According to the National Coalition for the Homeless, the U.S. Department of Human Services, and other agencies, the following statistics are now known. 46% of young people on the streets left their homes due to physical abuse. 17% left home due to sexual abuse. Approximately 50% were told to leave by their parents, or they told their parents that they were leaving and the parents did not care. The average age of a homeless youth is 14.7 years of age, and young people ages 12 to 17 are more likely to become homeless than adults. These are alarming statistics. We have a guest on today joining us who will help us understand more about why these statistics are so high. She will also shed light on how we can make a difference for our homeless young people in our communities. My guest is the founder of YouthHope, a nonprofit organization whose aim is to bring help and hope to homeless teens. But before I invite our guest on, I'd like us to take a look at a clip featuring Heidi and her work in what she does, and a very kind young man, a homeless young man named Cameron, who was gracious enough to take us around to give us an inside look at where these homeless teens stay. So at this time, we'll take a look at that.
Basically, I came down here when I first became homeless because I saw that no one was down here, and it freaked me out because I lived in Beaumont my entire life, and there's places out in Beaumont where you can sleep where no one's been, where like there's no one is gonna come up to you or anything. You don't have that out here. So this place is just really loud, and like you can't really see someone back in this corner when there is a car here or isn't. Yeah, this is my roof. Fell asleep up there for approximately 5 seconds before my friend Mike and my friend Jane crawled up there after me to wake me up, and I threw a fit and broke the vent. But yeah, this place I used when, because my parking lot has been full before, so I just like crash out of here when I wanted to crash early or something.
Very few kids will you find that are truly showing their pain. They're not going to show their pain on the streets.
Right.
You know, if you see pain, it's more anger.
Right.
And besides the anger, they just kind of shut down. Yeah. We started here, and the kids would say, we're going to the sanctuary. Hey, Heidi, we'll meet to the sanctuary. And I said, what do you mean? Yeah, the Methodist church. And I said, oh, okay. And so what was neat was, and that was here at the Methodist church.
Well, you turned that one into the sanctuary afterward. Yeah, so.
So as the kids were coming, they would say, you know, I'm telling Mom we're going to church, and I think, how cool is that? If this is the first step to get into church, how awesome is that? I love that. We're so quick to say everybody's the same. Right. You know, everybody that is homeless is crazy. Everybody that's homeless are drug addicts. Everybody that's homeless drinks. They're alcoholics, and that's where
so not true.
That's so not true, and that's the important piece. You know, maybe we're homeless because, you know, we've lost our job. our family doesn't have any work, and so we're trying to move forward, but
My family's crazy.
or there's things going on with the family, and so we have, as a youth, we have to get out of that family because, it's not a safe place. So that's where people need to understand every story is different, every person is different, and we should not judge. I mean, we can't judge, it's not right.
There's a bunch of people that are doing a lot better than just are out of Redlands, and they were at low points, lower than I've ever even thought of reaching. And they're doing way better than I ever thought I could.
We have over 200 volunteers, people that are coming and sitting, with our kids and doing tutoring one-on-one, or, taking them grocery shopping, or getting food, or fixing food, or bringing us clothes, and dentists,
License,
doctors.
ID.
Yeah, and so it's a huge group of people that care, and that's how life is going to, be changed. That's how, at Christmas we give out shoes, and we have little kids that crochet beanies and scarves, and ladies that are making blankets, and to be able to share that with their youth, to say, I know I care for you guys, but guess what? Somebody else cares. I think that brings hope, brings hope to me to know I'm not out here by myself. I might feel alone, but I'm not alone. And that's what's important for the youth and people to understand they're not alone, but for other people to also understand these are great kids. We have great youth on the streets. I walk every morning, and when I walk, I pray for our youth. Every time I find a rock, and the rock, it might be lumpy, and it might be bumpy, and it might have holes in it, but to me, without a doubt, because this is God's miracle around here, that rock is us. It's like God saying, you know what, I love you, I care about you, and it doesn't matter if you're lumpy and bumpy, it doesn't matter if you have holes in it, but every time, it's a heart rock, every single time. And so as I sit down with kids, I'll say, hey, I've been praying for you, and look what I found. And I'll give the heart rock to them, because I want them to understand that God loves them, and that He's there for them, and He cares for each one of our youth. He cares for each one of us.
I don't own anything. All these clothes have been given to me by my friends. My phone, everything I own none of it's mine. You can't have anything of your own. It's hard to maintain any type of work, any type of anything like that, because you can't keep yourself to that schedule, because everything's always changing. You don't know where you're going to be the next day. You don't know what you're doing, and just initially getting a job, initially getting to school, initially getting any of that is really difficult. Not everyone out here is just trying to get money to get drugs. Not everyone out here is just a low-life drunk person. No, not everyone out here is just constantly gonna be right where they're at. Everyone needs assistance, and a lot of the time, and I do mean a lot of the time, over 95% of the time, you'll find that if you help the right people, they'll get to where they're trying to go. But they need the help there initially.
Okay. Well, at this time, I would like to invite our guest on. Please welcome Heidi Mayer. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today, Heidi. It means everything that you're here and share what you do, what you've been doing all these years. But I'd first like to start by asking you, what inspired you to this work reaching out to homeless teens?
God kept showing me verses in the Bible that, love one another as I have loved you. And then our small groups that we would have with the kids coming in, next thing I knew, one of the kids were running away because things were going on at home. Oh, by the way, that's a homeless person, in case you didn't know if they ran away. So very slowly, God was changing my heart. When our youngest was going off to a mission trip, he was going up to San Francisco, and as he was going up, it was like, to work with the homeless? Oh, no, not my baby. And went up to be with him, to protect him. And the youth pastor was very kind, and he said, sure, come on up. And he didn't have a choice. And as we went up there, I went to go help him, and the youth pastor said, no, you're going to go to the Golden Gate Park. And he knew my heart, and he knew that I loved the youth, and he knew that it would change. And so I looked at him to protect my kiddo, right, because I didn't quite figure out about this homeless thing yet. And he says, I got him, I'll protect him. And I went to the Golden Gate Park, and I stepped onto the park at Haight and Ashbury, and there was a young lady that was there, and her name is Winter. And Winter had been homeless so long she couldn't remember how old she was. She was 17, 18, 19 years old, and she had been what you call curb stomped, and that's when somebody drags them to the curb and they slam their face into it to kill them. She did not die, but she had lost all of her teeth. And each day we were there for 5 days, and each day she was with a different man. And, you know, I put my arms around Winter, and I said, Winter, you got to get off the streets, girl, you're going to die. And that time period is when God changed my heart. How dare I to judge anybody until I get to know somebody? And then still I shouldn't be judging. You know, that's not my job. And Winter, you know, changed my heart and my whole outlook in life. And so I took that, and I took her and her story, not her personally, and I went out and I started reaching out, grabbing our kids from church and saying, come on guys, let's go get to know somebody. Let's listen to the story. Let's figure out what's going on. How can we help them? It's really exciting. As you jump forward 4 years, I kept going up to San Francisco and then Portland, Oregon, and Seattle, Washington. But I have a new friend on the streets, and her name is Ginger. And I said, do you know a girl by the name of Winter? And she goes, yeah, she's off the streets, and she helps us. And I'm thinking, not the same girl, no way. And I go back the following year, and Ginger goes, I want you to call. She wants you to call her, Heidi. She remembers you. And I'm thinking, this is so crazy. And I call her, and she describes me from head to toe, and she says, you're that girl, you're that Christian girl from Southern California, and you brought me peanut butter jelly sandwiches and you know, all the, you know, backpack and clothes and shoes, and she named all of the things that we brought her. And then she said, because of you, I am off the streets. And I'm thinking, can't be the same girl, right? And so she goes, remember my lack of teeth? And I said, yeah. And she goes, I have brand new teeth. I work in the business district. I have my own apartment. And when I have time, I come down and help the kids on the streets. And I was able to share with her, because of you, Winter, my whole perspective on people have changed. And I now am going out on the streets and at least trying to make a difference.
That is amazing, absolutely amazing. So you worked up there for a while, and how did you transfer that, what you were doing there, to here in Southern California?
Baby steps and very slow. I kept grabbing our kiddos from church and said, come on, we need to go. And we would go down to Riverside to the park and Venice Beach and Santa Monica. And each year we would keep growing and keep going more often. And as I was, you know, grabbing our kids and say going down to Venice Beach, that's a long drive for us. And I would be sitting down, and again, you need to get to know somebody. How do you judge somebody if you don't get to know somebody? And then as you get to know somebody, I shouldn't be judging them. You know, it's like, how can I help? What can I do? And I found, you know, I bring sandwiches with us and sweatshirts and shoes and things to be able to help, but I felt like I couldn't do anymore. I felt like I walk away and it's like, oh, have a good day. And that was really eating at my heart. So we had gone up to Seattle, Washington, and there's a place there called Orion, and walked in, and the minute I walked in, it was just like, oh my gosh, this is what I need to do. It's a drop-in center, and they help youth. When they walk in, they feed them, they clothe them, they offer free medical and dental and education, and I walked in, and it's just like, I need to do this. The following year, we went back up to Seattle, Washington, and I dragged my daughter up with me and said, you need to look at this amazing place. And so as I took her up and I showed her, and I was so excited about it, she said, Mom, you have 1 week to call the police, because I needed to call the chief of police. Everybody kept saying, call the chief of police if you want to do this. Redlands needs your help. You need to call the chief of police. I don't call chief of police. I don't do those things. So when we got back, she said, you got 1 week, and I made that call. And when I say I don't do those things, I really don't. I literally gave him my phone number, and I hung up. I didn't even give him my name, but it was very nice. They called back, and they set up an appointment that Monday, and I just listened to what he told me to do, and we started taking off and helping youth and growing from the first year 38 youth to over, since 2009, we've seen over 2,100 different youth here in the city of Redlands.
That is astounding.
It
wow,
is.
astounding. Where did you start though? Like in Redlands? I mean, what did you do?
So we, again, I kept dragging those kids from church. I love church kiddos. Actually, I love any youth. Youth are the most amazing group. But we packed up sandwiches and packed up sweatshirts and tennis shoes and socks and belts. And I kind of play this dumb blonde thing. I like to at least like pretend I'm blonde. Anyways, and I'd walk down the streets with our kids and say, oh, I've got a sandwich. You know what? I made all this food and I don't know what to do with it and I can't throw it away because I'm a mom. And would you like one? And that was the number one step. Is like, if they take my food, aha, maybe they're hungry. And so then if they do, then I drop down to my knees and start pulling things out and said, I got a sweatshirt and I got shoes.
So out of backpacks.
Out of backpacks, out of my backpack. Yep, I'm just grabbing it out of my backpack. Well, if they were just a nice youth that was, you know, helping this crazy lady, they'd say, oh, no, 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 and they're out of there. However, if they are possibly homeless, possibly struggling, they might check out what I have. And that's how I started building relationships. And we just would hit the streets. And your yes has to be yes, and your no is your no. And if you say, I'm going to be here on Thursday, you better be there on Thursday. And so we started taking a list of, well, what would you like? And what do you need? And how can I help you? And we did that right in a parking lot, you know, right walking down the street. We would just drop and pull things out. And how can I help you? And remember names and be there and offer them whatever kind of help they wanted. Now, again, I'm just a stay-at-home mom and somebody that cared. And one of the youth, after, oh goodness, probably 4 or 5 months, you know, his name was Steve, and he goes, Heidi, we all got together and we talked about you. And I'm going, oh no. And he goes, we decided we can trust you and you're okay. And that to me was really precious because I needed them to know that I do care and I do love them. And I'm here for them, and whatever's going on, you know, work as hard as you're willing to work. I care. And so that was, you know, them saying, you know, you're good to go. And we went from there.
How long ago was that?
2009.
2009.
And
okay.
I figured I needed a place to go besides the parking lot of CVS or the downtown. Right. And so we talked to the Methodist Church, and they said, come on in. And so we started feeding in their little courtyard, and there was some grass right there, and we kept growing. And what I loved, and I showed on the video, was how much I loved the kids being able to go to the Methodist Church, because the kids would say, we're going to the sanctuary, and kids would say, I can't believe I've ever gone to church, but I go to your church every week, Heidi. But you know, how neat that we can show God's love, and that we are there to love them unconditionally. We're not, you know, cramming the Bible down them, but hopefully that they can see Jesus through us, and that they know, you know, there's something a little different, and that's our goal. And then after that, we had a building donated to us, and so we now have a home for the youth, not to sleep in, but to come and to receive help, to be loved, to know that people care about them.
Tell us a little bit about that transition. So you're meeting in this park, which is serving as a drop-in. Kids are able to come and eat, get sweatshirts or some clothing, get their needs met, shown that they are loved and cared about. How did you go about obtaining the property that you have that would become YouthHope's drop-in center?
We just keep doing what we're doing. We have just been blessed. God does amazing miracles. And as we are doing what we're doing, you know, we're a volunteer base. I have over 200 volunteers, over 200. I can't even count how many volunteers. Wow. That people fix food for us, that people provide clothes for us, that we have tutors and people to take our kids to appointments. And I volunteer. I do this for free also, and I feel it's important that we pull people in that care about our youth, and they do it without getting paid. We We do have 4 paid staff just to keep my head above water and the financial piece all okay. But as we're going through and as the building is donated, it was donated because somebody heard about Youth Hope, because somebody could see there's a problem, because somebody saw that we were at the park and it's pouring rain on us and we're still dragging our stuff and we're going to the gazebo and stepping over older homeless population as we're feeding, 14-year-olds. And I believe that when people see that there is a need and there is a passion and we're not going away and our homeless youth aren't going away unless somebody's there that cares about them, that, the community comes together and says, we're here. Absolutely. And we do. We have churches, we have service clubs, we have moms and dads and children that care.
Who give their time. Mm-hmm. What are some of the things that you offer at Youth Hope now?
We just about offer whatever. We tell the kids, whatever you need, I'll work as hard as you're willing. So food, again, unconditional love when the kids come in. Food, we got to eat. I get hungry and I need to eat, so they need to eat and makes me happy. Clothes, because our youth don't want to be looking homeless. They want to look like everybody else. They want, when they go to school, they want to be able to sit next to somebody and feel good. We provide free medical, so that's dental and glasses and doctors and counseling and rehab and any type of medical that you can possibly think of, we provide. We, once we know they're hungry, they're no longer hungry and they have clothes on their back and they have medical and they're healthy and strong, and then we get into the education piece. Every child has the right to go to school, even if their parents don't want them to, even if not. Every kid has the right, and so we help our youth get back into school. We don't need parent permission. We provide bus passes so the kids can get to school. We have a GED program. We are helping kids now to get into college. We have youth that are going to Crafton and to Valley and to Cal State San Bernardino, and we have trade schools that are working with our kids. We have truck drivers and welders and machinists and people that are working in the medical department. And so literally whatever they need. We've opened up a boys and a girls house. It's very small because I'm taking it tiny because we just started
baby
this.
Steps.
Baby steps, very, very baby steps. So we have 2 girls and 2 boys. And we're working on that, and those kids have to go to school full-time and work part-time.
Fantastic.
And our goal is that we tell the kids, what do you need? I will work as hard as they're willing to work.
That is fantastic.
Let's move forward.
That is absolutely wonderful, all those services. I know that there are many success stories, and in our last little bit of time we have left here, I would like for you to share one success story, although I know there are many because we've talked. Right. Would you share one briefly with us?
Sure. We have a young lady, and she started coming when she was 13 years old. And she started coming when what her situation was, she was living at home with mom and stepdad, and she had to go and buy drugs for her mom. And one day she just got really, really tired of seeing her mom either passed out or high or whatever it might be. And so she looked at her mom and said, I'm not buying any, I'm done. And so mom said, if you don't buy me anything, then get out. And she was very small and very petite, and she left. And she spent that first night at a grade school underneath the eaves of that grade school. The next morning, the youth on the streets found her, and they brought her to me. It was really interesting as she came. I said, hi, what's your name? And trying to be really sweet. And she looked at me and said, I'm not telling you my name. And I said, okay, you don't have to tell me your name, but what do I call you? So I got to call you something, and I can't say just, hey, you. And she said, you can call me friend. Well, it took 2 years to build that relationship with friend. And 2 years before she told me her name. And as we went down the journey, finally she said she had enough trust and she knew I was there for her. She said, I need to go to school. We got her into school, and she graduated from school, and she was one of the speakers at graduation. As we move forward, she working jobs. She was at the YMCA and the circus and part of that. She, moving on to college, she's going to Crafton, working 2 jobs, going to Crafton full time. And what I love so much about her, she's just not taking care of herself. There's been all sorts of issues getting into college if you're homeless and all sorts of rules and regulations. And she is now taking our youth and taking them up there and signing them up and making sure they know how to do everything. And when the administration says, I'm sorry, you can't get free money, she'll say, no, excuse me, they can't, and this is how it needs to be done. And it's really exciting to see her now giving back to the kids that are on the streets and encouraging them. And that's what it's about, is passing it on and caring about others, and that's what she does.
That is absolutely wonderful, and I know that's just the one of
Right,
many
right.
that
So
you've
many.
seen turn around over the years. In closing, Heidi, I'd like to ask you, is there anything that you would like to share, let people know what they can do to help with what you're doing?
Absolutely. Number one, don't be a Heidi. You know, don't say, oh, they're homeless, and cross the street and not look at them. I'm not proud of that, and it's important to say, get to know somebody. You know, if someone is outside begging for money, don't be lazy and hand them $1 or whatever. Take them in and offer them food, and if you have time, sit down and visit with them and get to know them. But if nothing else, it's if you give them cash, they might be maybe someone that was trying to get off of drugs, maybe trying, and now they got that $1 or $5 and they're going, I'm really hungry, but you know what? Let's not be a stumbling block. Let's change lives. Go in there and buy them a hamburger or buy them chicken or wherever you might be. And again, get to know them. That's, to me, the number one thing. My main thing is, though, don't judge. Get to know somebody.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Heidi. We greatly appreciate you being here today and sharing what you're doing. And hopefully people will hear and step up and know how they can also help. This concludes our time together today. I want to thank our guest, Heidi of YouthHope, for sharing her story and the experience that she has with us. And I want to thank all of you for joining us here for a new day. Thank you.
This viewer-supported program is made possible by viewers like you. Your support is invaluable and appreciated. To send a gift or for more information, please contact Dr. Tammy at the address on your screen. And thank you for joining us for A New Day.